gente. Waiting for my bing. Can we get the bing real quick? Then we'll get started. There goes the bing. Thank everyone for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina, coming to you live. This is, as promised, the Wheel of Samsara Part 1. We're going to have to break this down into several parts. If you want to catch us, you can catch us on Facebook at 3 different Facebook pages. That's the 19 Report, Jamil Salib Zamir, and also on the Music Man website. And I think we may be broadcasting live for the very first time on Linked. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube, and we're broadcasting on Twitter and on Instagram. So if you can catch us at any of those platforms, if you would like to donate to the broadcast, you can do that. Let me see if I can find that real quickly. Then we're going to get started. I'm asking that you give me about an hour, but if you would like to donate, there's a PayPal and there is a Cash App at $19 Promotions and PayPal at paypal.me/19 Photographics. Again, that is part of our business model, the photographs and videography, anything dealing with broadcast media. If you are just hearing me for the first time, I am Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. My main purpose is to focus on broadcast media, and my main purpose is to focus on religious scripture and on positive motivational messages that pertain to advancing in our understanding of our purpose in life. Today we're talking about the Wheel of Samsara. Happy Black History Month to you. And I pray that we will keep that going. Just give me a little bit of time today. We're going to get into the definition, what is the Wheel of Samsara, and we're going to go into biblical scripture a little bit about it. Not too preachy. We're not going to be too preachy, but this is definitely a message you want to hold on to. For anyone that has not heard me before, I am not an entertainer. I didn't come here to entertain you. TikTok is for that and other websites. We came to really put forth some knowledge and hopefully jumpstart the mind into wanting to understand more about our purpose and where we are in life right now. So it's Black History Month, and we're going to come black either way. But today I got on my That's What You Get t-shirt. You can order this from us. That's what you get. That's something that my grandmother told me, that my mother would tell me. When you do something silly, that's what you get. So that's where we are today in the Wheel of Samsara. Got my hat turned backward, got on my prescription glasses, and we're going to go in. So just give me a minute as we pound into the intro. Very nice intro. Then we're going to get right into the message. Stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong. Took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone. And then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone. Solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one. Right to left counted, 9 and then 1. Left to right, switch it, 1 and then 9. West to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is all right. Thank you for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir. For those of you who don't know me, I've been broadcasting and doing independent publishings. Have 3 books on Amazon.com entitled Few, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I'm working on another volume, another book now called The Fear of Being Afraid, and also Those We Leave Behind. And I've been doing this for about 30 years. For those of you on Linked, if you don't know who I am, just a brief introduction of myself. I work with local organizations, outreach ministries. I have a community of concerned citizens ministries here in Manning, South Carolina, but I don't consider myself a minister in the traditional sense. Sometimes you got to say things a certain way for people to comprehend what you're doing. or what you're saying or your purpose. I do believe that I have been given a purpose. I do believe I received a calling. I never asked people to join a religious any religious sect, and I never asked for donations in the term of, if you give me this, this will happen for you. I'm not a prophet. I don't prophesize. I don't see none of that stuff. I just listen to what God tells me. I look up and find the information and research it, and then I bring it to the best of my ability in hopes that the next generation will get out of this murder cycle that we are in and get back into evolution and not devolution. So today we're talking about the Wheel of Samsara. If you don't know anything about it, go look it up. I'm not going to argue or debate about it. I'm just going to give you what I've been given, my thorough research of it. I'm not competing, but I do believe that the knowledge is necessary. So we're going into part one, and then we're going to stop. But I'm going to bring some biblical scripture along with that. Now, the Wheel of Samsara, I have for those of you who don't know, I use a teleprompter. I don't like to ramble on. I write all of my information down in Word, and I put it up so I can read it, verbatim, and then add a little bit to it. The Wheel of Samsara is the cycle of birth, life, death, and reincarnation. Rebirth in Buddhism is what it's called. It's the cycle of birth, life, death, and reincarnation. The thing that is happening with us, a lot of people have been sending me messages asking why we were brought into slavery, why it seems like we're still suffering the way we are as a people. And what I try to explain is that prior to slavery, we had internal issues with ourselves and internal issues with each other. And those internal issues got so poisoned, they disconnected us so badly that what happened was that in our desire to be the best of whatever we were, we thought everyone else was less than us. So our own people sold us into slavery. On a shorter note, for those of you who don't know, I'm 6 months off of open heart surgery. I actually died twice on the table. I was brought back twice. I came home and I died again in my bedroom, and my wife revived me. So I lost a lot of my memory. I lost a lot of my verbiage. I lost a lot of words, a lot of things I can't remember. So you hear me say a lot, and you'll see me searching for words. But I'm back on the job and trying to prove to God that I am sincere in what I'm doing, and I want to share that information. Now, the Wheel of Samsara is so important to understand. The wheel is talked about in biblical scripture, and the constant cycle of redoing the same thing over and over is spoken of in biblical scripture, and this is the key. This is the key to us understanding where we are and what we must do to get out of it. It is an individual fight first. No white person in this world, in America, can hold you back from your success. No other individual at this time in life can hold you back from trying to do the right thing. There are no more excuses. We may not be qualified mentally or financially to get to where we want to be, but there is no one stopping you from trying to better yourself, better your health, better your comprehension, better your home, and better your community. If we're still blaming people at this point in life, then we are in a stage of devolution. So the Wheel of Samsara, the birth, life, death, and reincarnation cycles, or the rebirth according to the Buddha. In the philosophic tradition of India and Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, all of these other things talk about this. According to these religions, during every life, dharma, pay attention to that word, dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A. We're in class today, dharma. The actions made for good, that's dharma. Anything you do for good. When we were brought to this country in chains, we comprehended that in doing good over time, better things would happen. And over time, we advanced in our understanding, but we did not advance in our understanding of the spiritual journey between us and our Creator. We actually took on someone else's reality. And that's why we're in this constant cycle of samsara. We took on someone else's reality. And in taking on someone else's reality, we're living out their reality. We're not living out ours. So we're constantly in this cycle of birth, death, trials, birth, death, trials, a little success, then back down to trials. And the only way that we will get out of this cycle, as it says in scripture, and I'll read in a few minutes, to come out of this world. That is one of the most difficult things we can do because we don't know any other world. We can't go back to Africa. We're not welcome there in a sense. We don't know that lifestyle. But we have a life here that we can unify and grow with. And then in unifying, growing, and getting the respect for doing for ourselves, we can then latch on to other races, other people. As the scripture says, God made us into different tribes and families so that we will love one another and not hate one another. Well, right now, we're in a process of hating ourselves the most. But why do we hate ourselves? We're talking about the Wheel of Samsara. Now, according to these religions, during every life, dharma, pay attention to dharma. Dharma is the actions made for good. And karma. Karma is the consequences of the actions done or something we decided to do. So the choices that we make have a opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So any choice that we make, any action that we put forth, something is going to come back with that. Any poison thought is going to create a poison reaction. Any poison action, poison reaction. That is karma. Karma. These two things, dharma and karma, determine the future destiny of every being in the process of achieving to be. The one thing that we must do is comprehend how to be. How do I become? How can I be that in which God desires for me to be, in which the universe has already made a destination for me? Instead of doing that, we follow someone else's blueprint trying to be them. So at this point, because we were introduced, our young generation X was introduced to violent music and what appears to be success that goes along with music, all of our children are trying to be gangster rappers. And in trying to be that, they push out a frequency of negativity that will give them back that same negativity. So our children are dying, murdering, going to prison, getting out. We have no control over them because they are in a wheel of death, a wheel of samsara that they made the decision to get into. And until we reverse that cycle through generational knowledge, generational frequency of positivity, until we do that, generational frequency of evolution, not only will our children kill themselves, but they will kill us. They have no more respect for the elders. And worse than that, the elders have separated themselves from the struggle. And the elders are saying they're going to get their piece of the pie before they die. So the same slavery that we were placed in, this is Black History Month, we're teaching. The same slavery that we were forced in, the same psychological slavery. Once we get a foot out of the mud, we treat our own people the same way. This is all by design. During the Jim Crow era and prior to that, it was called meritorious manumission. If I will set you free, if you promise that you will tell me anybody that's trying to rebel against our system, if you promise to be a watchman to keep our system in control. So we see a lot of successful politicians and business people, they play the game. Not that you take away from their success, they earned it, but they earned it by choosing to play a game. So when you ask them their blueprint, they can't give it to you. Because to reveal their blueprint is to reveal the fact that they sold themselves to another person's system. Rather you're into preaching, or rather you're pushing drugs, or rather you're a politician, when you're successful, you sold your whole identity to someone else's system. So when I ask, who are you? I'm a rapper. I'm a politician. I'm a preacher. That's not who you are. That's what you do. We're talking about this wheel mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. Wheel in the middle of a wheel, up in the sky. There are many different wheels. There's a wheel of poverty, a wheel of middle class, a wheel of rich, a wheel of wealthy. And we may be able to jump dimensions into these different cycles depending upon what we choose to do to get to those cycles, but the wheel continues. Because contrary to popular belief, people who get money get tired of getting money. So they know they're going to make money, so now they're thinking of another thing to do to excite them. That's what Trading Places with Eddie Murphy was about. They made so much money they decide to just bet on a bum and make a bum successful. Just bet a couple of dollars. So when you're poor, you think that the person above you is happy constantly, but they're not. And then the person who has a little bit of money think that the person above them is happy, but they're not, because we're all going in a cyclical motion. We pass by the same things over and over again. And you say in your mind, why are they miserable? They got money, but they're miserable because they're on that same wheel. We haven't broken the cycle of the wheel because there is a level above each level that is supposed to bring us closer to the understanding of God, but we never get there. We die on the wheel. We die on that samsara wheel, which is a punishment more than it is a reward. It is a temporary reward. So we're according to the religions during every life cycle, dharma, karma, the consequences of things done, determine the future destination of every being in the process of achieving to be. You're either going to evolve or you're going to involve. You're either going to face a period of evolution or you're going to face a period of involution. We're going to talk about those two things, and then we're going to close on part one. We, us, black people, the poor in mind, poor in body, poor in spirit, poor in self-worth, who master the world that we were brought into. Once we master it, you get a master's degree, a bachelor's degree. That means that the world that you and I were brought into, someone taught us how to survive in that world. It's not our world, it's their world. But we're being taught through colleges and schools how to study and survive and compete in their world. That's not a bad thing. It's only bad when we take bad measures to get where we want to be. So us, who master the world of the slave masters and capitalize off of the knowledge acquired willfully, become participants in the furthering of a perpetual abusive cycle that takes advantage of the disenfranchised. I don't want to sound like I'm using these huge words. What I'm saying is, we fuss at a man and tell that man, you're wrong for what you're doing. But once we get in the position of that man, we do the very same thing that that man does. There is someone controlling the strings. There is a puppet master controlling the strings of every individual who succeeds according to the world that they choose to live. So we look at politics, Democrat, Republican, they're the same. The Democratic Party is not for black people like you think. The Democratic Party is for whatever will achieve their goal. Republican, the same. But in the midst of those two groups are people who are honestly trying to do the right thing. In the midst of the police department, there are people trying to do the right thing. In the midst of religion, in the midst of business. But they will not be able to compete on a grand scale because evil is the order of the day. So that's what we're talking about, the Wheel of Samsara, where we are willfully participating in the furthering of a perpetual abusive cycle. Today in Clarendon County in Manning, South Carolina, we once didn't have access to land. We sold all of our land or it was stolen. Now black people are getting access to taxes, people who are late on their taxes, and people who they can purchase their land right up from under them. And black folks are doing that. And black folks are using their money, their wealth, their knowledge to abuse other black people. We're not thinking about what happened to us. We don't care about it. In fact, we are erasing our past. and saying, never mind about that, never mind about black, it's all about green. The homosexuals, the LGBTQ community is saying gay is the new black. We're the ones they're talking about body shaming, anything to replace a suffering of a people that has not been compensated for or addressed. That wheel, we're constantly in that cyclical motion, and everyone has to answer for that. So in the midst of all of this is misery. You selling drugs, you got money, but you're miserable. You in real estate, you got money, but you're miserable. You're depressed, you're taking pills, you're smoking weed, you're smoking cigarettes, you're drinking coffee. But to the people who are not in the world that you're in, it looks like you're in heaven, but you're in hell. Because hell looks pretty. Why are we in this constant cycle of dissatisfaction? Now, fostering this continual abusive system that further perpetuates the actions of mentally disturbed children. And we are suffering from post-traumatic slavery disorder, post-traumatic stress, rape, rob, murder, distrust, betrayal. We're going through all of that. So now we're just trying to get to a place where we no longer have to worry about the people that cause us harm. So we go after business, and if you look closely at business people, they're usually nerds who were mistreated, who got a bone to pick, so they're very aggressive when they get knowledge, or they are already bullies who are very aggressive when they get knowledge, but they have no empathy for the collective. In other words, the same system that abuses us, when we make it up out of it, we take that same tools, those same tools that was used against us to keep us enslaved, and we abuse others for the sake of advancement. That's what we do. We want to be a part of the system that degrades us. That's what we want. Because that system creates money. That system creates power. That system creates prestige, recognition, and a false sense of respect, a false sense of achievement. So that's why social media is so important. You got to show people how happy you're pretending to be. You got to tell people how happy your life looks. That's a wheel of samsara. The Bible talks about it. The Quran talks about it. All religious literature talks about this cycle of pain and suffering that we go through. And the minute we get a little bit of joy, we forget about the pain and end up going through that same cycle again. You get a new girlfriend. You think she's the one. She's just the beginning of another cycle of hell because she's no different than the other. We're all pretending. We have to pretend in order to be happy. But once you get off of that wheel, you don't have to pretend anymore. You can be real with yourself. I'm real with myself. I'm not happy. I'm depressed, but I'm honest. I can say that. I don't have to pretend. If I'm hurting, I'll say I'm hurting. If I'm happy, I'll say I'm happy. If I'm concerned, I'll say that. Now, rather we sell drugs or sell dreams, it's all the same. We're on that same wheel. Now I want to read you something. We're almost done. In the book of Revelations, 18:4, but it's really 18:4, 1 through 7. And it says, Revelations 18:4, or Revelations 18:1 through 7. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with its glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations, listen to this, all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from the heavens saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sin, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you. and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. So the scripture is saying that the angels are coming to put us on this wheel of samsara, and what we dished out, we're going to get it back. What we did to others, we're going to get it back. There's no escaping that. That is the wheel. Rather you're looking at a person on a different wheel than you're on, the wheel mentioned in Ezekiel, they said it was dreadful. It is a dreadful thing to know that you're going to constantly end up right back where you left off. And not only that, that because we refuse to try to change, our children will suffer and start the journey on that same wheel that we left off on, and will remain on that wheel until someone says, we're going to stop this vicious cycle of involution. Now, what is involution? Involution is something that Satan used. It's psychological warfare. It's called tricknology. It's something that makes us think we are advancing when in actuality we are not. In 100 years, black wealth has not advanced at all. And they're saying by 2064, white wealth will be in 2 millions and black wealth will be not even in the millions, something like 700,000. How can that be when all of these entertainers have all of this money? Because that's not wealth. Because that's nothing you can pass on and guarantee that that will evolve into something greater, because you got a generation of children who have been convinced that all they have to do is spend money to be happy, and they would rather buy toys than to buy something of value. So let's look at what involution is, the definition of involution. We're almost done. The definition of involution. As a social concept, involution as a social concept was introduced by anthropologists to describe a process of inward let me see that word. Yeah, inward over relaboration in agricultural development, where population growth did not result in growth in productivity or a more advanced economic model. I'm going to break that down for you. We got more children, but the children aren't doing anything to advance. If mom and daddy are working in the field and they have 6 children, none of the children come in the field to help them increase the growth of the crops. That sound familiar? Our children do not take care of the home that they live in with us. They're nasty. They're more of a burden. They're liabilities. They're not assets. They're pulling from the wealth and not adding to the wealth. So involution, introduced by anthropologists. Now I need you to look up what an anthropologist is. This is where populations growth did not result in growth in productivity or a more advanced economic model. Listen to this. Without significant breakthroughs, nothing new is happening. The things that are going on in the world now with our young people that they think they are the originators of has already happened. They're remaking movies. They're remaking TV shows. They're remaking dances. They're remaking music, remaking everything. And because you do not study history, you think it's new, but really you're on that same wheel. And people my age and older are looking at you like, these children are not going to advance our cause. And now you've been convinced to destroy your community with drugs and guns and violence, crooked politicians, crooked preachers who take more than they give. So we have devolved. And only a few people have success. Only a few people have wealth. And they want us to look at them, our own people, and lord over them as we lorded over our slave masters and their success, and our desire to no longer work but live like they live. So our own people are enslaving us today with their mouths and with the little that they give you, the technology, they learned it and they're using it. So that is causing frustration. Growth and productivity are more advanced economic models. There is none. Without significant breakthroughs, society spirals into a state of internal friction. Does that sound familiar? We're fighting internal in the family, in the community. So the scripture says father will be against son, mother will be against daughter, already predicted. If we do not break this cycle, this is where I don't care how much you go to church, I don't care how much you pray. If we do not break this cycle, and it takes warriors to say, I'm going to take the punishment and I'm going to find a way out of this cycle. It ain't the dude with the muscles. It ain't the dude with the guns. It ain't the dude with the gift of gab. It's the person who decides in their heart that come whatever may, I'm going to deny myself and I'm going to pick up my cross and I'm going to follow God out of this wheel of samsara. So a lot of people that we admire and look to for guidance can only lead you back into that wheel. That's the only advice they have, how to survive in this world. But scripture is saying, be in the world, but not of it. Survive, live, but don't be of it. Come out of it. I just read that. So without significant breakthrough, society spirals into a state of internal friction with increased complexity, but not expansion. We are not expanding. Young folks think because they got more than we ever had that they have expanded. You have not. You only took your money to be selfish, and most of the money you got through ill-gotten means. Same as your slave master. You are the new slave master. Politicians, preachers, all on the same level. Presidents, kings, rulers, according to the scripture, all on the same level. Today, the word is used broadly to convey a general feeling of defeat when the purpose of competition is to eliminate in a zero-sum game. So, involution is when you feel defeated. And most of you live this ghetto life and you justify your actions. Karma. You justify it because you feel the score is 0 to 100. We are losing. So it says towards the word is used to broadly convey a general feeling of defeat when the purpose of competition is to eliminate in a zero-sum game. So a wife feels defeated. She go and cheat on her husband thinking that's going to be better. It'll be better for a little while, but it's going to come right back to where you left off. You cannot escape it. You can't move away from it. You can't go to another town and get away from it. You can't hide in a cave alone and get away from it. It will always come back until we face it, acknowledge it, and work on understanding how to defeat it, how to get out of it. We were deliberately placed in a cycle of involution. That is what the tree of the knowledge of good and evil did to us. We made a choice. God said, choose tree of life or the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We chose the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or what you all call a school of hard knocks. Learning through trial and error. Learning, ignoring, and then forgetting, and repeating the hell cycle over and over until we die. Learning, ignoring, and then forgetting, and repeating that same hell cycle over and over until we die. And we pass that negative energy right to the next generation. Proof. Let's go to Exodus 2:05. This is also in many other biblical chapters in the Bible. But listen to this. Exodus 25. Listen. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. That means the people of the world, nor serve them, the people of the world, but we have bowed down to them and we serve them. But the book says don't do that. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting, this is the wheel, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and the fourth generations of them that hate me. Now you see people who join into this world, but are in church every Sunday, and you think they love God. But according to this scripture, they hate God. What they do in church is they make a new God according to their desires. That's why there is so much hell in the church. This is not an attack on religion. This is for you and I to see where we are. We're on this horrible wheel called samsara. But this life that we live in hell is so great, it's so pretty and so pleasant, that for someone like me to come on and try to convince us to look at it for what it is, a person will kill you if you wake them up from their dead state. A person will kill you if you wake them up from their dream. A person will kill you if you wake them up from the reality that they set in their minds. They don't bother nobody. I've never had slaves. I didn't. Yes, but the residuals from slavery put you where you are. Wealth, generational wealth, and put us on the wheel. But it put the slave masters on the wheel as well. But they understand that they're on the wheel, so they master the wheel. We get abused by the wheel, get controlled by the wheel. It is a horrible thing. According to the scripture, you look up in the sky and you see this wheel. Said it got eyes on four sides, and wherever the wheel go, the beast go. Talks about this horrible thing. In closing, evolution. We talked about involution, but look at what evolution is. Evolution is a process of change in a certain direction, unfolding, the action or an instant of forming and giving something off, a process of continuous change from a lower, simpler, or worse to a higher, more complex, or better state of growth, a process of gradual and relatively peaceful social, political, and economic advance. Something evolved. The process of working out or developing, the extraction of a mathematical root, a process in which the whole universe is a progression of interrelated phenomena, one of a set of prescribed movements. That is evolution. Now, we talked about karma, dharma, the actions made for good, karma, consequences of the actions done, decided. You make a choice, there's going to be a rebuttal to that choice. And then it says, determine the future destiny of every being, the process of achieving to be, evolution or devolution. We told you what evolution or involution. We'll talk about devolution later, or going down. We went into Exodus 20 and 5. We went into evolution, what evolution is. And in closing, this cycle process ends. This cycle of the Wheel of Samsara. It ends with the achievement of moksha. Moksha. I want to say this. The Bible was translated out of ancient Aramaic and Hebrew into English. No prophet or messenger spoke English. Spoke the English. The English language is a bastard language that is made up of different dialects and put together to make words. That's what it is. But the religious literature is written in a way where one word could mean 3 or 4 things. The Hebrew alphabets is written to where one symbol can mean 3 or 4 things. It was more symbols than it was words. But I fear that when we read this book called Bible, we look at it like an English thing. But in the beginning of the book, it said it was diligently compared and revised over and over again. So this cycle process ends with the achievement of moksha. And moksha is union with God. That's when people say they are saved, they're Christian, you're Muslim, you're saved, you're holy, you're sanctified. You're experiencing moksha, union with God. The wheel of samsara is hell. And all of us are in hell, different levels of hell. To really raise consciousness with an open mind, to receive new knowledge and accept and respect the traditions and cultures of other regions in the world. It is important to know their belief. Therefore, next we will be talking about into definitions of dharma, definitions of karma, and definitions of moksha. We will be doing that on the next broadcast tomorrow. I think I'm going to be interviewing a mother who lost her son to murder, whose son was murdered, or I may be talking to one of our writers, local writers, who've written several books, depending. But I hope this went through on linked. This is my first time trying it, and I don't want you to think that I'm preachy. But everything that we talk about on the 19 report, or like it is motivational. Although it may seem like it's bashing, it's actually intended to raise the vibratory frequency of the individuals who listen to it. And the reason we want to do that is because sometimes when a person gets a little knowledge and a little wealth, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wealth, each achievement should be applauded and congratulated. Sometimes we get a little high and mighty, and there's no one to teach down here these people who are looking for answers. When I was looking for answers, there was really no one to come and help me. They would tell me about religion and about Jesus and love, and they would give you a fish, but they would not teach you how to fish. So at 52, I'm still learning like a child how to fish. But each step of the journey, I made a pact with God. Call him what you want, a Jesus. I like to call him Allah. I'm not a radical. I'm not a provocateur. I've never been to prison, never been to jail. I'm not a felon. I can vote. I am a graduate. I'm a college student. I am a businessman, have been for 30 years. But that's what I choose, because when I was looking for answers, that's what gave me answers. Let's share our knowledge of God and share our knowledge of understanding and motivate each other to rise above negativity into the comprehension of what God is, who God is, so we can take advantage of that and get off of this wheel of samsara. Join me next time. We will be talking about, we will be defining dharma, defining karma, defining moksha. If you haven't heard us, you can go to the 19 Report on Facebook or YouTube. We've been talking for over 20 years. And we have these topics. They're there. This is nothing new. If you would like to donate, you could donate to my Cash App, $19 Promotions. We are a legal business. With the state of South Carolina, we pay taxes. You can donate to PayPal.me/19 Photographics. That is the Community of Concerned Citizens. That is a nonprofit. Thank you for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.